So in this video, I'm going to walk us through the font exercise that you're going to do for this week. So go ahead and open up the font exercise zip, and you're going to see that there is an Adobe Fonts HTML page and a Google Fonts HTML page, a League Type HTML page, an images folder with Montana in it, and a CSS folder with styles.css. I've gone ahead and opened up the 3 HTML files and the style CSS file in my TextMate, and I've gone ahead and opened up the 3 HTML files in my browser as well. So I'm going to start with the League Movable Type, and then I'm going to go to the Adobe and the Google Fonts. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do is look at the page itself. And it says what you want to do is add the typefaces listed in the headings from League Movable Type. I'm going to go to that website. You can either copy and paste it from the HTML page here or click on it if you have it open in your browser. From there, just scroll down and the different typefaces will show up. I want Junction. I'm going to click on Junction, and you're going to have to download each weight separately, as mentioned. So click on regular, click download, do the same for light and bold. And then in order to get Ostrich, you can either go back to the catalog or go down to the bottom and click on Ostrich Sans. Now I've done a little bit of magic, and I've already downloaded these and put them in a fonts folder just to make life a little bit quicker for us. So you can go ahead and pause me while you download them on your end. Now, the other thing that I've done is Junction has the actual fonts if I wanted to install them on my computer here. And then Web Fonts is where the actual fonts that we're going to be referencing our WAF2 and WAF files are. So this is going to be important when we are installing them in our CSS. So that's going to be step number 1. Now that you've got them downloaded onto your computer, you've put them inside a folder that is, within the context that you're going to be working. So make sure that you've put your fonts inside of your font exercise folder. Go ahead and open up the CSS. And the first thing we'll want to do is reference them, install them basically on our CSS. So I'm just going to put a comment in here so that I know what I'm doing. This is my League Type fonts. You'll notice that at times I am not the best typist, so there will be times I copy and paste to make my life easier. Make sure that I don't misspell something. So speaking of copying and pasting, as I mentioned in the lecture, you don't need to remember all of the add font face stylings off the top of your head, as long as you know where to find them and what to change. So if you went into week 5 in 2U and you went about halfway down in the page called Real Typefaces with Add Font Face, you could go ahead and copy the font face declarations that I have listed on that page and edit them, which is what I'm going to do here. So paste. All right, great. Now I'm obviously going to be changing a lot of these in order to fit the 4 fonts that we want installed, the 3 versions of Junction and then the 1 version of Ostrich Sans. So I'm going to start off with that, and I'm going to also just keep handy my Finder window to make sure that I know where I'm going and that I copy the names correctly. I'm going to go ahead and call this Junction Regular, then I want Junction Light, and Junction Bold. And then I've downloaded Ostrich Sans Bold. You could download any of the faces for Ostrich if you want. It doesn't have to be bold. I just happen to have bold. All right, so now we're going to go in and change things. Now, once I change this first one, I'm going to be able to copy and paste some of that stuff elsewhere. So obviously, we want to change this font face from League Gothic to Junction. So this is going to be Junction. Now, I want this to be, look for Junction. Also to look for Junction Regular. And just to be safe, whenever you have something with a space, it's always a good idea to just put in 2 versions of the local search, one that has the space and one that doesn't, just in case that is missing. Now, just taking a quick look at the font weight and style, these are going to both be normal. It's going to be different when we get down to our bold, but for right now, we're leaving these both as normal. Now, what's the URL we want? Now, just remember that the URL is always relative to the page that you are working on. Right now, I'm working in styles.css. So in order to get into the fonts folder, I do need to include the command to go up 1 level and then into fonts. And then from there, I want to go into Junction. And then I have that web fonts folder. Make sure is that, yeah, that was plural. And then I have the actual link to the file. Now you want to make sure that this is the exact wording. So I often will just click on it to copy it. And we're going to start with our web open font format 2, WOF 2, and then we'll put our WOF 1. Now I'm just going to copy and paste my WOF 1. Great. I'm going to go ahead and copy this beginning and paste it in front of all of my junctions. So this is also going to be a junction. And this one's also going to be a junction. Yeah. Now I'm going to paste it in front of my ostrich, this first one. I want to make sure to change this from junction to ostrich, and I think it's ostrich sans, but let me just double check. Yep, ostrich dash sans. So now I'm going to go ahead and copy that and paste that there. So what I've done is I've made sure that I've got the file structure ahead of the actual file name to be correct for everything, because then I can go through and paste the actual file names from my Finder, and making sure that we're keeping the WOF 2 with the WOF 2 and the WOF with the WOF. Now, fixed this first one. Now let's go down to the second one. So this one, the font family, this one's going to be light. So I want Junction Light as the font family. And we're going to be looking for Junction Light and Junction Light, all one word. Now I want to go and pull up my WOFs. WOF 2. Make sure I've done that. I like doing things kind of in order that they are on the page. You might want to go ahead and, you know, change all of the file names and then change all of the font weights and then change all the font styles. However, it makes the most sense for you. And so going through the order of the page here, font weight is normal and the font style is also normal. In this case, it's just calling out normal versus bold. So in this case, now that we're getting to junction bold, these two I'm going to both make bold, so that when we get to actually styling our page, I can make sure that I can use either the font weight or style to call out that this is going to be the bold version of junction, because the family is going to be junction. And we can have junction bold be the same font family because the font weight and the font style can be both set to bold. Unfortunately, light and condensed are not functions that we can set here. And so if I made this junction, it would be harder for me to actually have that apply to my page correctly. So things like light, things like condensed, think of them as different typefaces. Now I want to make sure that this is junction. It's looking for junction bold. And again, junction bold, all one word. And now I'm going to go back to my Finder and I'm going to pull up my file names to make sure that my file names are right. Great. So I've got those ones in, and now I just need to go to Ostrich. So I'm going to have to change my folder, go into my web fonts folder, and this is going to be one here. And this guy. Oop. Just realized I forgot to set my font family is going to be Ostrich Sans. And I'm going to be looking for Ostrich Sans bold, or all one word. Ostrich Sans bold. Great. And this is going to be normal. Oh, actually, they're both going to be bold because it's bold. Just so you know, here I can kind of just show you real quick. If you're looking for what the properties are for text, for our, oh, sorry, here we go. You can see that for font style, my options are normal, italic, and oblique. Oblique is like a fake italic. My font variant, normal small caps, and my font weight is a weight, which is, again, things like bold or black. But we can't put in things like condensed or light here. So here we go. can see normal and bold are the two variants that we are allowed. We can pick one or the other. And so if I put in, it would give me, here, let me show you. You notice that that isn't showing that it's basically the right kind of format for it. So it would be confused. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now I've got all my fonts in, but all I've done is install them on the site. I hit reload and nothing's happened. That's because I haven't defined any of these to use the fonts. They don't just magically know. So let's take a look back in our HTML page. Now we've got, oops, I just realized. This says example 1 and yours, I got ahead of myself. Example 2. The reason that I've changed it, so what I was going to show you is that in Adobe Fonts, we're using Montana here, but in Google Fonts, I've used example 1 and example 2. So let's go ahead and in League of Type and in Google Fonts, we're going to change the class to the name of the font. So change example 1 to Junction and change example 2 to Ostrich. Great. Now we can define these classes, and we'll also end up defining for Junction light, regular, and bold, but we only need the other two. So let's go to styles, and I'm just going to go ahead and also write a note that this is my I'm going to write a note saying that this is my League Type text styling, but I'm not going to try to talk and type at the same time. Much better. Okay, so the first one I have is class Junction, and I want that font family to be Junction. And then I've got Ostrich, and that font family to be Ostrich Sans. Great. All right, let's reload. Awesome, I've got Junction and I got Ostrich Sans. But you'll also notice that I have all of the light, regular, and bold are still in the regular. Okay, well that's fine. Let's go ahead and define those classes. Class light, class regular, and class bold. Okay. Now remember, we called this Junction Light. All right. Now, bold, I don't need to change the font family. Instead, what I need to change is the font weight or style. So let's do font weight. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do regular and say that I want that. Technically, this is probably extraneous, but that's all right. And as we can see here, regular Junction, light, back to regular, and bold. And then the Ostrich Sans is set in Ostrich. So that is the League of Movable Type guy done. So I'll click that guy closed. Now go ahead and close this. Now, the next one I have here is Google Fonts, so I might as well go to that guy next. Now, as you can see, we've got example 1 and example 2 again. And so what I've asked you to do is go ahead and add the Amatic SC and then pick your own Google font. So I'm going to go ahead and add Amatic, and then you can go ahead and add whatever other font you want. I'm going to go ahead and just copy that name. And so when I'm going into Google Fonts, this guy's going to come up, and the first thing I want to do is I want to search for that. So that makes life easy. So I'm going to click on Amatic Sans. Now, you notice I've got regular and bold are the two that I'm going to want. So I'm going to go down here, by the way, and I'm just going to change my, I'm going to add in that this is going to be my Google Fonts type. And I'm going to go ahead and change example 1 to, I'm just going to call it Amatic. And I'm going to make sure that I make that not capitalized, Amatic. And then you can change example 2 to whatever you want. So here, I'm going to call this Amatic to make sure that I have, put it in right. Now you notice that I did a typo here, and that's why everything is in blue. There we go. Okay, perfect. Yep. Okay, so Google Fonts, I want regular and I want bold. Now, the nice thing is that it's pretty easy to use Google Fonts. So the first one I want is regular. Select this style, and you'll see that I've got a link if I want to link to it. Or in this case, I want to use the import in order to use the font family. So you can use whichever one you would like. If you use this guy, this is going to go at the top of your Google Fonts page. So I'll show you this. I'm going to do one for each. So let me go ahead and make, this is going to be the regular. So I'm going to put that guy at the top here. So this is saying I'm going to be using that for Amatic. And let me go down, select you, and do that import. Oh, let me select the whole thing. Hello. There we go. There we go. So either of these can go into that head. Now, the nice thing is that either way, it's told you this is the font family and this is going to be the CSS rules to apply. So in this case, this is going to be for the normal and this is going to be for the bold. The other thing I'm going to do is order is important. Let me make sure that my own style sheet is the last thing that is in here. Because the last style sheet listed is going to be the one that overrules everybody else. So I'm also going to copy out my CSS rules to apply to specific family. There we go. I'm just going to paste this down here so that I know what I'm doing. And I'm going to... So we've got the regular, and then we've got bold. All right. Now, for the Amatic, what I want to do is I want to set everything that's in the div class Amatic to use this font family. So, put that in here. Great. Now, hopefully, we will have our nice, this is Google. I'm going to unclick that. And we have everything is Amatic SC. Now, you'll notice that it knows that this should be bold and this should be regular. So it's a little bit smarter because it's got the stuff kind of already in it. But we can, in fact, define it here as well. So we can go ahead. It's because I already defined my class bold and regular as the font weight bold and the font weight normal for my League of Type. That has carried over into my all of my documents because I've done it in my main CSS. So even though this is my League of Type text styling, that actually really only applies to the first two. Let me just go ahead and there we go. If I put light, it would actually go back to junction light. So this is important to know when you're doing stuff like that, to make sure that you don't reuse classes in ways that you don't want to. So I'm going to put a note. This is general text styling classes. So now I realize that that's going to happen to anybody that I have listed as regular or bold. Now you want to pick another Google font and add that one. And again, you can do it either through linking. Now you'll notice that this will be the same for all of them. And then you'll basically just need to add in this last one. Or you can go ahead and stick your import in between this style. Either one is fine. I just want to show you both of them just so you see how they work. So you'll change example 2, make the name of your font. tell me what it is. And then you can finish up and save your Google Fonts and just make sure if there's anything that needs to be changed in your style sheets, you've done that. Now, last but not least, let's do Adobe Fonts. So inside that, you're going to need to get to this a slightly different way because Adobe Fonts come through Creative Cloud. So go ahead and open up your Creative Cloud. And as you'll notice, I need to update, but I'm going to go into Fonts. And okay, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and click Browse More Fonts because then it's going to bring me up to the main Adobe font page here. And that's going to make life a little bit easier for me in terms of finding what I'm looking for. So what is the name of the font that I'm looking for? It's called Montana. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And I want to search for Montana and hit enter. Now, there's a few different ones, and there's two actually. Oh, sorry, no, there is just the one. Okay, for a second, I don't know why that comes up for Montana. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Now, you'll notice, oh, sorry, I'm going to go back real quick because I want to show you something that it has on that main page. That's either a heart, so then it'll always come up, but also you'll notice this little code sign. So that's showing you that this can be used for web projects. And you can go ahead and see it shows you there's lots of different ones. And there are so many. I'm going to hit cancel real quick and just click on Montana to show you. But that is a good sign because that tells you that that's available as a web font. Now when I click on it, because there are a lot of faces, it's going to take a little bit to load. There we go. Now, as you can see, I don't have any of them activated right now. If I do go ahead and activate them, then they'll show up in my Adobe, various Adobe products. I don't necessarily need that right now. I'm just going to go ahead and grab Montana Regular. And again, I'm just going to click on that guy there. Now, this is, it's going to ask me to name a project, and I'm just going to call this demo. I'm going to create. All that does is that allows it to kind of attach it to a thing. So as annoying as that may be, you know, you just have to give it a name. You can go ahead and copy that to the clipboard, and this basically creates a style sheet with that type kit. And this is the actual CSS. So go ahead and, again, before yours, paste that. So we're going to the type kit. Now, we are using Montana Regular. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go into my style. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to add myself another little note that says this is Montana. And so now I can go ahead and define here that I want my class Montana to have that font. So I want class Montana, and I'm going to cut you. And that's what it's going to use. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that. And now let's go back here. Now, aside from the fact that I've got some funky stuff happening in terms of my CSS here, which I can go in and check and see what's happening, I do have the right text.